Hey everyone, this is the Mana Source, my name is Wedge. Who needs different series when we can just talk about spoilers all day? Over the last 24 hours, cards were popping up here and there. Come midnight, in pure Wizards fashion, they released a bunch of stuff. If this doesn't get you excited for Theros, you have no soul. The first spoiler we're going to talk about is Purphoros God of the Forge. Yes, it's a foreign spoiler, so just bear with me for a second, it's worth it. Purphoros is a 6/5 indestructible for 4 mana. As per usual, if your devotion to red is less than 5, he isn't a creature. His first ability is, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Purphoros deals 2 damage to each opponent. What? This is absolutely insane! I know I wasn't the only one who immediately thought of Young Pyromancer with this card. Instant creature damage. If you add in a Crowan Crusader to that, instant creature damage. Ugh! Best card released by far. By a lot. Did I forget to mention he has a second ability? For 2 colorless and a red, he gives your entire team +1/+0. No big deal, just a fire breathing for everyone. From what we've seen from the God cards so far, Purphoros seems nasty compared to the others. Unless Erebos does something crazy, I can see Purphoros as the real god to beat on Theros. Wizards released the alternate art for all of their pre-release promos this morning, and I gotta say, they look really pretty. This confirms for those who were still unsure that the intro pack rares are going to be the pre-release promos. This is important for those who like to plan out the types of strategies they want to use before the events. Personally, Celestial Archon just seems crazy nuts, but I'm a sucker for pretty things, so I'll basically take anything. Finally, the Bident of Thassa was officially spoiled. We don't like to talk about cards we aren't 100% officially sure of, so I'm glad they finally put this up legitimately. The Bident is a 2 colorless, 2 blue legendary enchantment artifact. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you pay 2 mana and tap it, creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. I think this is a really cool way to get your opponents out of the way of your creatures attacking. Essentially, it lets you control the board during combat to a certain extent. Also, this is really interesting for blue. There are a ton of green and red cards that force creatures to attack, but blue has never been the centerfold for that type of strategy. I think what we can take out of this is that Thassa is really aggressive. Also, this card is pretty great, especially in limited play. The game day promos look as cool as ever. Phalanx Leader is showing the power of strong biceps and toned thighs, while our top 8 promo doesn't really have anything to tone at all. Night Howler is a 1 colorless 2 black 0/0 with a bestow cost of 4. Night Howler and Enchanted Creature each get +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. I think this is one of the most interesting spoilers to date. We haven't seen a lot out of black, but we know that there's going to be a ton of graveyard interaction. Night Howler could be considered pretty cheap for the ability he brings with him. Until we know more about the direction black is going in Theros, it's hard to say how great this guy will be. From what we know now, I think we can expect good things. The Buy a Box promo is Sylvan Caryatid. For 1 colorless and a green, you get a 0/3 Defender Hexproof mana producer. This is just a straight up better version of a Utopia tree. It can't be directly damaged and survives overloaded Electrickery. This card provides a lot of power to decks that are going to miss having Farseek. I don't see how this card won't affect Standard, honestly. It's one of the most practical and universally good spoilers we've seen so far. The next card we're going to look at is probably my favorite as far as naming in Theros. Pyxis of Pandemonium, aka the Pandora's Box card, is a 1 mana cost artifact. You tap it and each player exiles the top card of his or her library face down. You can then pay 7, tap and sacrifice it, and each player turns all of the cards exiled with Pyxis face up and puts all permanents onto the battlefield. This is just really funny. I'll draft this deck forever. 1 Pyxis, 800 fat guys, seems trollish enough for me. Granted, I don't see this getting much constructed play, but they are really going all out on the flavor of some of these cards. Hunt the Hunter, released via Twitter, is our next spoiler. A 1 green mana sorcery, target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It then fights target green creature an opponent controls. This is pretty neat. Seems great for limited or even a decent removal card in some sideboards because you know red-green isn't going to stop being a thing. These types of removal spells are pretty good in limited, so while it does specify a green creature, it is pretty devastating sideboard tech. So keep that in mind going into the pre-release and drafts. Next up is Battlewise Hoplite. Yay, more blue-white! This guy is a 2/2 for 1 of each blue and white for heroic ability that gives you a +1/+1 counter and lets you scry. The value is strong with this one. A 2/2 for 2 is pretty nice already, and the heroic ability giving +1/+1 counters is great too. The scry is what makes this guy an uncommon. You get so many effects just for targeting him. I could see this getting some kind of constructed play. He just does so much. The last spoiler of the day is my personal favorite so far. Master of Waves is a 3 colorless 1 blue 2/1. He has protection from red, and elemental creatures you control get +1/+1. When he enters the battlefield, however much devotion you have to blue, you put that many 1/0 elemental creature tokens into play. I love this card. It's hysterical. If he leaves play, your elementals die because his ability gives them their only point of toughness. However, if he stays, even with just 3 or 4 devotion, you're paying 4 mana to get a boatload of 2/1s. Also, this card is important because it shows that elementals are a thing in Theros. We haven't seen a lot of elemental shenanigans yet, but Master of Waves has me excited. That's it for Theros spoilers today. Make sure to subscribe to see the most up-to-date information on spoilers and everything else you need to know about Theros. This is the Mana Source. My name is Wedge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.